Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. This is part 2 where I'm going to show you how to set up 3 different solutions for your smart home lighting in relatively small spaces. Now, yesterday I showed you the very simplest of solutions right here. This is simply put 3M tape on the back, and you're going to want to install this device so that this little motion sensor can see you. Now, the links are down below to one of these, and there are a lot on Amazon. There's a lot being sold around the world. So very simple LED motion sensing light with a battery pack on it. So those are the key critical components. I'm not going to show you exactly how to install this because honestly, stick it to a wall. Take off the 3M tape, stick it to a wall, put the 4 batteries in here, and make sure you have access to those batteries later. But I'm going to now show you the other 2 solutions that I've done in my smart home. So let's get going. So if you remembered yesterday, what I showed you was my smart home lighting setup in my laundry room. Now there's 2 Sengled bulbs in those 2 fixtures, and then turning around here and looking at the door, I have a Samsung SmartThings multi-purpose sensor. Now both lights shut off when I go ahead and close the door, and that multi-purpose sensor senses that it's next to its other magnetic component. That's really all that's happening here. This is a very simple setup. So let's go ahead and show you how to get this done. So the big critical component with your multi-purpose sensor, as you get it out of the box, there is a little tag there that says remove when connecting, and that tag is actually your battery. And once you remove that, the battery is live, and that will start the pairing mode for your multi-purpose sensor. Once you've done that, essentially that device is ready to go, and then from there you can just go ahead and use the 3M sticky tape that was provided to go ahead and mount it on your door frame and on your door like you saw earlier in the video. Where I'm going to start is in the Samsung SmartThings application, and what I'll tell you is I already have those 2 laundry lights set up, and I already have the laundry door sensor set up. So what I'm going to show you is how to add a new thing inside of Samsung SmartThings. So you hit that plus up at the top right, and what that does is the Samsung SmartThings hub starts searching for new things to connect. Now for Sengled Element bulbs, I actually struggled getting them connected. One of the tricky things to do here is leave the light switch on and then turn it on and off 10 times, and that will start a pairing process for the Sengled Element Classic A19 bulbs that are sold quite often. Once you do that, what happens is your Samsung SmartThings will find that Sengled Element Classic bulb, and you can go ahead and hit rename device. Now call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it the Laundry Room Light 3, and then I'm going to show you how to rename the device, and you can actually stick it in rooms, but ultimately for what we're doing, this doesn't matter. Now, once you've hit OK, you basically have that light now in the application and you have access to it. You can see it right there, Laundry Room Light 3. Now we can go into that light settings just by tapping on it, and you could physically, if you wanted, turn that bulb on and off and change the percent on if you wanted right in this screen. But we can also hit the settings up in the top right, and that's just the little gear icon, and then you can go ahead and rename the device here. So you can see I'm just renaming it to Laundry Light 3, and then I'm going ahead back. There are other settings that I could show you, but really what we're trying to do here is set up a smart app. So down at the bottom of the application, I've tapped on automation, and you can see I already have smart lighting set up. It's down towards the bottom, and I can go in and I can see all the different components of smart lighting that I have set up. But if you didn't have that set up already, we can scroll down to the bottom and you can see add a smart app. Now go to lights and switches inside of there, and you can hit smart lights. It's the very first one. Now what I can do is I can choose the devices I wish to control. So that's going to be Laundry Light 1, 2, and 3. And once I have those three selected, I go ahead and hit next. Now I could choose to activate a scene, but honestly, that's a little too complex for what we're doing here. We're going to go ahead and choose what we want to do. So I want it to turn on, and then how do I want to trigger that action? Well, I want it to be based on an open close, and you can do a lot of different things. You can see that here, but I'm choosing open close, and now I have to choose which open close sensor. I'm going to choose my laundry door sensor. Now, when I first added this, you would have had to add that device as well and call it laundry door sensor. As long as you had that sitting with the battery pulled from it, then that laundry door sensor would have been ready to set up with your Samsung SmartThings and would have shown up when you hit add things, just the same as the Sengled Element bulb. So you could have set up both of those devices at the same time. Now from here, we're just choosing a few more settings. So we want it to turn on when opened, and you can see I've turned it off when closed, and I could do that after a number of minutes. So I could turn it off if I want a little bit of a delay. Now, choosing more options, I can also do this only during a certain time. So this is how you can start to modify the actions. You could create multiple of these if you wanted, say, to only turn on these lights during nighttime. So you could actually say only during a certain time, or only when a certain mode if you have an alarm system already set up in SmartThings. So what you'll see me do here is basically start at sunset and end at sunrise, and therefore this automation would only occur when it's nighttime. So once you've set all of these different settings, you could make lots of kind of if statements. So you could base it on other switches in your home being on. You could base it on other settings like illuminance. If you had one of those sensors in your home, you could do that as well. But ultimately, in the end, once these settings are all set, you just hit next. Now you could go ahead and edit the automation name if you'd wanted, but you can also just hit save, and now it's already installed and automating. So when you actually go and open that door, those lights will all turn on. So here you can see the automation working. There's my door just going open, and as I close it, the lights turn off. So of course, if I had added that delay, it would take longer to actually shut off the lights. But let's head upstairs to my walk-in closet here in our master bedroom, and I'll show you the lighting automation there. This is based on a motion sensor up in the top right corner. There's my Samsung SmartThings motion sensor, but in the fixture itself is a Philips Hue bulb. So what I'm going to show you today is how to ensure that Philips Hue is connected to Samsung SmartThings, and then that motion sensor can actually make your light turn on, and then I'm going to set a timer to make it turn off after 2 minutes. Now, the one thing to note is you will have to leave your light switch on for both of these automations to work. So keep that in mind, but let's switch over to Samsung SmartThings, the application, and go ahead and add our Philips Hue device. So going into the Samsung SmartThings application here, we're going to go to the Things section, and now I'm just using an Android tablet. So just keep in mind that things might look slightly different, but I'm trying to show both systems here. Now, we're going to go to Add a Thing, just the same as we did last time. I could use the plus, but there's also the button Add a Thing, and now it goes and it looks for devices. But what you actually have to do is push the button on the top of your Philips Hue bridge. When you do that, it enters a pairing mode as well, and it goes looking for these types of connections. So once that happens, what you're going to find is not only does your Philips Hue bridge show up, but it also shows up with all of the different lamps or lights that are already attached with the correct names. So there's the Hue 70C5C1. That is my bridge, and I could rename any of these just like you saw in the previous demo, but they've all come in, and now I have all these additional devices inside of Samsung SmartThings. So again, I could go ahead and I could manage the different components to each bulb if I wanted to change the light intensity, I could go ahead and change that. I could change the color if I have a color bulb, and you can see that I do in this instant. Now, what if you needed to add another bulb to your Philips Hue? And this is the most likely situation, and it's actually one of the more stranger things to do when you have these two systems connected. So going into light setup inside of the Philips Hue application, bottom right, we go into the settings portion of the application, and then we go into light setup where it says we can add new lights, and top left you can see the button add light, and then you just go ahead and search. Now if you struggled here for any reason, I obviously didn't because it popped right up, but if you did struggle, then you could go ahead and enter a serial number. Now once you tap on that bulb, you can go ahead and rename it, and I'm going to call this one walk-in closet number 2, basically, because I already have a bulb in that room and you already see it set up. So I'm just showing you how to go through the setup process again. So now that I've done that, I could, inside of the Hue app, go into the room setup, and then down at the bottom I have my walk-in closet room, and I can go ahead and I can add this new bulb to that room. Now that doesn't add it to a room in any other system. It's unfortunate none of these systems are talking to each other, so it doesn't work in Google Home or Amazon, their voice assistant, or Samsung SmartThings. It really doesn't matter. Now, when I come back into Samsung SmartThings, you won't see that new walk-in closet light 2. The reason for that is your Hue bridge hasn't resynchronized, and the easiest way to actually go about that is to go into your Hue bridge, the device itself. So again, that's Hue 70C5C1. Go into there and just scroll down to the bottom of this page, and there's actually a refresh button. Just hit that and then go back to your list of things, and you saw it just refresh there. There's the walk-in closet light 2. So from here, now we just have to head to automation again, and that's at the bottom of the application, and then we'll go into smart lighting again, or we could add a new smart app as you saw in the previous demonstration. So I just went back into smart lighting, and now what I'm doing is I'm actually modifying the applet that I had previously created. So that one was called walk-in closet lighting. So we'll just tap on that, and you could make a new lighting automation if you wanted to. For now, I'm going to go into which device I want to control. So that's the walk-in closet light, which is already on. And now I'm just adding the second. You might only have one in there. The next setting we want to look at is, do we want to activate a scene? Again, no, that's a little too complex for this. And what do we want to have happen? We want it to turn on. So now scrolling down, what you do is, how do you want to trigger the action? I've already chosen motion, and if you remember from the last demo, we could choose a number of different things, but I'm using that motion sensor that you saw up there, and that is my walk-in closet sensor. So I have to make sure that that is chosen. Now, the other thing I choose is turn on when motion starts. So I want to have that light, or those lights, turn on when motion starts. And then I also want to turn off after motion stops, but you can see that I've added a delay of 2 minutes right now. Now you can also tap more options, and when you do that, you can go ahead and you can choose things like only during a certain time or on days of the week, or the mode. What they're talking about there is alarms, or your alarm system, your security system with Samsung SmartThings. You have an if a switch is on, and if illuminance is also at a certain level or below a certain level, if you'd like this to only happen, say, when it's relatively dark in your home. So if you had one of those sensors, you could go ahead and utilize that. Now, after this, you're really just hitting next, and you're all done here, and you go ahead and save. So it's a relatively simple process, and now your light will turn on as soon as you walk into the room, as long as you have that motion sensor targeted at the right places in your room. So that's it. Both of those things are now set up in your home, and if you have any questions, go ahead, leave them down below. Here come the subscribe links and other smart home solutions for you to go ahead and watch here on Automate Your Life. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.